Terrell Owens, I thought T.O. should have been a first ballot. His numbers, I mean, he's a five-time first-team All-Pro with 3 different teams. I get, you know, well, he destroyed locker rooms, but he didn't play football in the locker room. He played football on the field. And his number says 6th all-time in catches, 2nd in yards, 3rd in touchdowns. Behind Jerry is the GOAT. Nobody can question him. Randy Moss, in my estimation, I think T.O. is the 3rd greatest receiver to ever play.
I put Michael Irvin up there, but that's just me.
Okay.
I'm talking about making money catches in big money games. Mm-hmm. That was Michael Irvin. But go ahead.
But that's it. I think his numbers validate it. Because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Although he did not play for a Super Bowl, the catches, the yardage, the All-Pro, the Pro Bowls, that gives him validation that he's very deserving. Now, I need the 50 members that's voting on this to validate this man. Set what he did aside, the ranting and the yelling and screaming at coaches and players. He came to play every single Sunday.
I cannot argue any of the numbers you just threw out. They're eye-popping. But I'm going to strongly suggest to you, a Hall of Famer, you're letting those numbers blind you and distract you from what he did to 3 big football teams, 3 really good football teams. He wrecked all 3 of them to the point, to me, that not only was he not a first ballot Hall of Famer, I'm to the point he's a no-ballot Hall of Famer.
Skip, stop playing.
Listen,
Stop playing.
Let me make my case, and I have made this eye to eye with Mr. Owens. We have sat across from each other a number of times, and we hope to have him sit right here, I don't know, maybe next week, next couple of weeks, and I'll do it again if we choose to do it again, because I believe it with all my heart and soul. Terrell Owens, I called Team Obliterator for a reason. T.O., Team Obliterator, because he didn't just wreck 1 or 2 football teams, 3 in a row he wrecked. And along the way, he verbally attacked each of his head coaches, 3 of them, each of his coordinators, all 3 of them, and each of his quarterbacks, except for Tony Romo, 2 down to my quarterback. Tony Romo. But the first 2, okay, I got you. But along the way, he also led the league in finger pointing and blame deflecting and literally in ball dropping. I can show you the numbers. 2 or 3 times he led in ball dropping. I was there in San Francisco, covered the team when he was a 49er. That was a really good Steve Mariucci team, my first year there in San Francisco, and he led the league in drop passes. And against their arch rival then, the St. Louis Rams, Kurt Warner, he dropped a whole bunch of balls in those key games, both home and away, that year. And as you well remember, he started to attack Steve Mariucci and verbally accused him after a game in Chicago of throwing a game to his good friend Dick Geron. Then he started to go after Jeff Garcia, both professionally and personally, if you recall.
I do.
And would campaign for Tim Rattay to replace Jeff Garcia as the quarterback. And then, classically, he went after Greg Knapp. Remember the coordinator?
Yep.
He's still coordinating now, but Greg Knapp was on the
Quarterback coach in Denver.
sideline. Yeah, he is. Yeah, and he was on the sidelines in Minnesota in a Randy Moss game.
Yep.
And he ranted and raved and showed him up in front of the world because his TV camera stayed with it forever, to the point that Terry Donahue finally said, that's enough of T.O., who they started to call Mio at that point, and shipped him out because he had become more trouble than he was worth. Point of order, in my time in San Francisco, for a while, I defended Terrell Owens, and I was the lone media voice to defend him until player after player after player in the locker room would pull me aside and say, what are you doing? What are you thinking? This guy's tearing us apart. Again, a playoff-bound team that should have gone much farther than it did. So he goes to, as we know, Philadelphia. And right away, his roommate and soulmate in training camp, Donovan McNabb, he starts to turn on him. And it was shocking to me because I like Donovan a lot. I don't think Donovan meant any harm. You remember what happened? They fell completely apart to the point that Terrell accused Donovan of hyperventilating and literally choking in the Super Bowl.
Well, it started because Donovan did not go to bat for T.O. getting the contract extension, and he went to bat for Westbrook.
He did.
He said, we need to sign this guy, and T.O. felt it as a slight. after playing in the Super Bowl on a broken ankle, he's like, how could you not come to my aid?
Yeah. But it started before that. He started to turn on him. And then he got into altercation after altercation with Brad Childress, who was then the coordinator there.
Yep.
And finally, he and Andy Reid fell completely apart to the point that they suspended him without pay for 4 games. And then they deactivated him for the last 5 games of the year. They just said, you're out. You're gone.
We're going to pay you to stay away.
Yes, to stay away.
Yes.
Which leads to the Dallas Cowboys. Bill Parcells wanted no part of Terrell Owens. Jerry Jones, the ringmaster that he is, I got to have T.O. because he's going to sell a few tickets.
Get your popcorn ready.
And you know what happened. Parcells, T.O. started to fall apart, and then Todd Haley, who is his own man and can be as full of himself as a player can be, they got into it and had a big knockdown, drag-out that led to an altercation on the practice field with Jason Witten because Terrell Owens had accused Romo of throwing to Witten more than to Terrell. Okay, we get it. And once again, slowly but surely, that team imploded around Mio.
Right.
And it's just, I just gave you 3 really good football teams with really good Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks, and they all imploded around Team Obliterator, and I'm supposed to put him in the Hall of Fame? I mean, that's Hall of Shame kind of stuff.
He was a very combustible player, but the one thing you know about, especially receivers, is that when they're going up against another great receiver, and they see that guy going off, Skip, you know what's going to happen. Quarterbacks, they say, well, I'm not playing against him. But you don't think Tom Brady was looking at Peyton Manning's stats and vice versa? They just do a better.
Talking about that game in Minneapolis?
Yes.
Randy Moss was torching them.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he saw that.
He did.
When I played against Tony Gonzalez or I played against another great receiver, a great tight end, I would tell Romo and Atwater, I said, look here, don't you let that boy show me up. And I'm telling him, hey, y'all know who over there, so I ain't saying throw me the ball, but I'm saying I don't need to walk out of this game with him having a better day than me.
By Romo, you mean Romanowski,
right?
Obviously. Yeah.
And I'm telling I'm looking at Coop. You know, I see Tony done got 3 passes in the first 2 drives.
Okay.
You know, I'm coming to the sideline like helmet sitting on top of my head, like okay now. Hey. So I get with T.O. I wish he could have handled that situation better.
Okay.
I wish he could have handled his emotions better. He always felt, and he feels this way to this day, that everybody was out to get him, Skip.
He did.
And that has a lot.
He had deep psychological issues.
Yes.
We saw what happened in Dallas when he.
And that came from his upbringing. He just felt everybody was out to get him. Everybody was against him.
And
it was just him. But Skip, all that running with the offensive coordinator, running in with the receiver coach, having it out with the quarterbacks. Skip, the guy still finished 6th. He's 6th all-time in catches, 2nd in yard, 3rd in touchdowns.
Okay, here's
And everywhere he went, Skip, he went to Cincinnati with Ocho Cinco in his prime and had more yards than he did.
He did.
He went to Buffalo. He had 898 yards. He was, yes, I get all that. Yes, he was a problem, but he was more of a problem on the football field. Ask any DB that had to deal with him. Ask any defensive coordinator. Because, Skip, he's one of the few guys that could take a 5-yard route and turn it into an 80-yard spectacular.
Totally agree.
So
and he played with rage every down. Rage.
He played hard.
I got it.
Think about Randy Moss told the world, I play hard when I want to. He's revered because, he 23 touchdowns, and he was I'm not taking anything away from him. But T.O. did it all. He ran after the catch. He blocked. Skip, his numbers, his play on the field. In the bylaws, they say you're not supposed to take anything that happened off the field. So anything he did in the locker room, he did on the sideline should not count. It should be excluded. What did he do on the field? What he did on the field speaks volumes. That man should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. So if he's not a first ballot, he should be second. Now don't make the man make the man wait 3-4 times.
Here's my issue. What he did on the sidelines and in the locker room dramatically impacted negatively what happened on the football field. And here's my bottom line to this. Shannon Sharpe helped lead 2 teams to 3 Super Bowl championships.
Yes.
2 teams to 3 championships. As I don't know, I could make a case, maybe you weren't the leader, but you were a leader. Is
Yes,
that fair?
yeah,
I mean,
very,
maybe
yeah.
in Denver, you're pretty close to being the leader.
I was like the Mike. John and TD had more cachet, but it was, if you listen to when we warming up on the field and you listen to Mike, he would always say, get them going, 84.
Correct.
In training
I'm with
camp,
you. I got
they
it.
would come to me, hey, Gary Coobs, who's the head coach now, he's the offensive coordinator, he says, I need you to strike up the band today. So my job was to get everybody riled up.
Okay.
So I'm going to the defense. Oh, all day, baby. We about to do you guys.
Okay, do you think Mariucci or Andy Reid or Bill Parcells ever went to
No.
and said, we need to,
No.
I can't remember what number he wore now.
He was 81.
81, I'm sorry. I'm trying to block it out of my head.
81, get them going,
Yeah,
no.
get him going. Okay,
Skip,
here's
that's
my
not what he
point.
was, Skip.
You unified and fueled two teams to 3 championships. He wrecked 3 teams. He dramatically, negatively impacted their ability to achieve Super Bowl. Now, again, quick point of order. He did rush back to play in a Super Bowl.
Yes.
He didn't get them to the Super Bowl because he didn't play in the playoffs.
Right.
They got to the Super Bowl by themselves, or at least Donovan and company and Westbrook and the others got to the Super Bowl by themselves.
Right.
He rushed back. And trust me on this, I've heard it from Eagles who played on that team. They felt he handicapped their chances to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
How?
Because Donovan felt obligated to throw checkdowns to him because he could not run, and the Patriots knew he couldn't run, so he caught 9 balls underneath for 122 yards, nothing, no touchdowns. And Donovan finally had to hit little Greg Lewis with a deep ball late that made it 24-21 to get them back in the game.
But think
Okay.
about who Donovan was throwing to. Freddie Mitchell,
Okay.
Todd Stinkston.
And guess what? Stinkston and company got him to the
God,
Super Bowl.
stop it,
Well,
stop
they did. They did. They won 2 home games to get to the
He
Super
did,
Bowl.
but what the regular season, T.O. had like 14, 15 touchdowns, Skip.
I got it. But again, he's the reason in the end you can't get there.
He's the reason.
That's not Hall of Fame.
If this, look, you know what, Skip? If this man's not a Hall of Fame, I need to come out.
Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Famer.
Skip,
Terrell Owens,
Skip,
not.
5 first-team All-Pro on
Period.
3
End of
different
story.
teams.
Come on.
That's a bold statement.
No, that's because it's not. Look, I used to think I knew what a Hall of Famer. I tell you what, ask the players. Ask the players about T.O. Ask
you know
any
what?
defensive player.
Okay, every locker room got split right down the middle because half the locker room would love him and
No.
idolize him.
Ask the guys that played against him. That's how you determine what a guy's worth.
Yeah, but they weren't in his locker room watching him destroy their team.
He was destroying them once he got to the field.
Yeah.